A bye week also for the Wildcats. How did you guys make use of it?
Yeah, you know what? I think first and foremost, we were trying to get back healthy. We've had a decent amount of guys knocked out, some starters, some impact players, the last 5 to 6 weeks. So just trying to get those guys back healthy, but at the same time, I want to keep some of that momentum that we earned, the last few weeks. So just striking that good balance. We practiced Tuesday and Wednesday, pretty hard. We still had the pads on because we're still a young football team. I know a lot the guys have grown up quite a bit in the parts of this season. But at the same time, I still think there's some things we're deficient at on all three phases that we really need to clean up. So to their credit, they practiced at a high pace. Um, you know, we we um we did a walkthrough on Thursday, and then we gave them Friday and Saturday off, and then we got back after it again yesterday. So we definitely probably utilized some more practices during the bye week than maybe we would have if we had some more veteran presence guys on the team. So happy with how they prepared, and yeah, I think we're excited to see how this leads into this week.
All with all the guys that you had banged up, are there any key guys that you think that have been out a few weeks that you might get back?
Sean Webb and Logan Perez are two guys that are close. So we're hopeful. We'll see what the updated kind of injury report says this afternoon. See if we can get those guys back out there and get some meaningful snaps. So those are two that we're eyeing to hopefully get out there.
Want to take a look at your team here 9 weeks in. Um, Starting on the offense, obviously Matt Vezza was a first-time starter, even though he'd been in your program, and I can't imagine that he has that you could ask any more than what he's given you. Talk about his development and the development of your offense as a whole.
He's playing really, really elite football. It continues to get better. He played some pretty good football early in the year with some of the games that didn't go our way. So I know that's challenging. A lot of time the QB gets too much of the credit and too much of the blame. So to have some, pretty prolific games that ultimately we didn't make enough plays, late in those contests to come away with a win. I know that can be challenging, on your ego and your confidence a little bit. But I got to give him credit. He's stayed methodical in his approach, shows up every single day, loves to practice, loves to get better, has worked on the continuity and the route timing between him and all the skill guys. So that's been awesome to see. And I think his decision making under duress has really improved the last couple weeks. And maybe early parts of the year when teams would pressure us, he would get off his spot a little quick and maybe just think to scramble. And we don't want to limit that because I think he has some really big play potential with his legs. But just him getting more confident throwing within the confines of the pocket, I think that's been the coolest thing to see in his maturation. And then the offense as a whole. I think the last few weeks finally doing a better job in the red zone, getting some more touchdowns. I think we have more field goals made than the next closest guy in the conference has attempts. So kicking way too many field goals, as we've mentioned. We've hopefully cleaned up some of the red zone woes. But yeah, I think the guys are playing hard. We're holding on to the football, which is great. Leading the conference in time of possession, and doing some of those things. So I think we're not punting the ball. We're holding on to it. If we can continue to be aggressive in the red zone, things will bode well for us.
Defensively, obviously, a lot of new faces coming into the season. We've talked about a lot of them, especially those linebackers that the young linebackers that have had so much success for you. But just talk about the improvements that that group's had, and where else you think they need to go to maybe make this playoff run.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, just really proud with how hard they play. I think week in and week out, they fly to the football. They're fast, physical, relentless, and have great pursuit. So we need to continue to do that. Things early part of the year, things that we felt like we need to clean up was just our ability to kind of tackle in open space. I think we've bridged the gap, the last few weeks, and then in particular during the bye, we went back to some fundamental circuits that we hadn't done here in a little bit. So I think they continue to take to the coaching, which is awesome. Um, we kind of have a bend but don't break mentality. I think at the end of the day, it's all about, not allowing teams to score touchdowns and give up the least amount of points possible. So they're doing a really good job of that. If teams do get some explosive or get some chunk plays on us, or we happen to give up some yards, I think they're doing a really good job of kind of buckling down, keeping them out of the end zone. So that's I think it's a testament to their maturation, how well they're taking to the coaching and how well they're understanding the scheme right now.
You guys are on a two-game winning streak into the bye, and I know you mentioned last week the tradition around the UNH program, and that playoffs is always the goal, and you've put yourself in position to do that. What's kind of the message heading this last stretch as you've prepared this week?
Just continue to improve on things we've been deficient at. Continue to highlight some of the things that we feel like have given us good opportunities to win, and just stay in the moment, stay trusting the process, and continue to prepare the right way. I think that's the thing I'm most proud of the last few weeks is that the guys really doubled down on their preparation, whether it's extra film study, whether it's them just being extra locked in during practice, and just understanding that if we want to find a way to go 1-0 each and every week, it has to start in Tuesday's practice, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then ultimately, good things are gonna happen on game day. So, we're up against it obviously this week, and one of the best teams, in the country, and we're excited for it.
Let's talk about that best team in the country. Obviously, the offense gets a lot of attention with all the weapons that they have. As you've had a little extra time to prepare, what impresses you with what they've been able to do on the offensive side of the ball?
I mean, they're explosive, they're dynamic, they can score anywhere on the field at any given time. I think that's one thing that you notice is defensively, you have to do a phenomenal job more than any other week of being gap sound. Rodney Nelson needs a tiny sliver of a hole and he's gone. Their offensive line is big. They combo well off one another. They're extremely well coached. They put a ton of pressure on your defense. They can play with tempo. They can smother the game and control the clock. They can be explosive on the ground, through the air. Yeah, they're the complete package. It's one of the best FCS offenses, to be honest, that I've seen in a long, long time. They don't have any deficiencies.
How about the young quarterback Frankie Weaver that's had to step in for Derek? What is your kind of take on him after a couple of weeks watching him?
Oh, he's big. He's physically imposing. He can make all the throws. I think he has elite upside, and he's got a really good career ahead of him. And to be honest, I think he's playing with a lot of poise and moxie in there. And he's had a couple turnovers, but I think they were pretty good decisions. It was more probably better defensive play. So, they've been leaning on the run game probably a little more the last few weeks, and rightfully so, till they get his feet wet. But he has all the tools to beat you and push the ball down the field, and obviously all the playmakers they have with Josh Derry and another 4 or 5 receivers that I can mention right now that at any given time can take the ball to the house. So really, really, impressed with how he's stepped up and continues to make them explosive.
Question for you from Jake Matson. Good morning, Jake.
Good morning. Hi, Coach Santos. Jake Matson with the Asbury Park Press in New Jersey.
How you doing,
Um,
Jake?
Doing well. As you guys come to Monmouth, I mean, look, I took note of, right, you guys are 3-0 in this series. But what I really wanted to ask is you guys have had some really good challenges, right? You've seen top level teams in the CAA, Villanova, Rhode Island, seen Dartmouth, seen Ball State. What do you think about just the nature of your schedule, the challenge that has? How does that prepare you to come into this matchup as you're seeking the road upset against Monmouth?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we want to stay locked in on the moment, and just focus on what we have ahead. But to have perspective, yeah, I mean, I think we've played 4 teams that had won their conference championship a year earlier, and then one of them not being including Villanova, and how good they are. So I think it just shows the strength of schedule has been pretty tough, and we're battle tested right now. But this is a whole different animal. I think this team that we're facing right now is playing with a lot of continuity, a lot of confidence. Listen to Coach Callahan, in weeks earlier on these press conferences, I think their culture is as strong as he's ever seen it. So it's a testament to them and the coaching staff and the buy-in that they're getting from them. And to be honest, I think that the defense has really stepped up and is playing their best ball of late. So this is a really complete football team.
Thank you, Coach.
Just one more, Rick. Just touching on that defense. Just it certainly has improved greatly as the years gone along. What have you seen the biggest difference being?
Yeah, I think you look at some of the stats, I think it's unfair. I think, they're defending the most amount of plays in the conference because their offense scores so quickly. So you got to look at it from that vantage point too. They're out there a decent amount. They're fast, they run to the ball, they tackle extremely well. They're leading the conference in turnovers caused and turnovers gained. I think it's about 16. I think they're number 9 in the country overall in causing fumbles. So they do a phenomenal job at the point of attack. When they tackle, they get the ball out. Obviously, they can rush the passer as well. You look between Graham and Lester. I think those guys are 1 and 3 in the conference, and I think they're top 10 nationally as well, in sacks gained. So they can rush the passer. They tackle extremely well. Very opportunistic. They wreak havoc. They create turnovers. So I just think, the continuity between the offense and defense is unlike anything we've seen so far this year.
All right, Rick. Thanks so much for doing this today, and look forward to talking again next Monday.